Welcome to This Week in West Hempstead, sponsored as always by Stern and Spiegel LLP 5168-731683. Let us solve your problems. We are, of course, also sponsored by our good friend Jeff over at Tiffany Dry Cleaners. They are environmentally safe. They provide free pickup and delivery in West Hempstead and surrounding areas with competitive pricing. And in fact, they may make a donation. They will make a donation?
Yeah, it's not a may. They definitely make a donation.
They will make
10%.
a donation of up to 10% of your cost by Tiffany to your favorite religious institution. Here are your hosts, Dave and Norm. Hey, guys, did anything happen this week in West Hempstead we should talk about?
Anything, Dave?
I don't know anything.
We didn't hear from anybody, so it's hard to tell.
It's been interesting, and I'm not sure what to do, but we'll just dive into the school budget and the elections and who won, who lost. We're going to break it all down. We're going to give you our opinions and thoughts and figure out where we go from there. So I guess the headline is that the school budget got shut down for a second year in a row. No big surprise there.
Right. They've been shooting it down since 1953, so it's not an abnormal event. And I assume they'll be coming back to us again with another budget for another vote.
This is in fact true. We happened to stop. You'll see me looking at my camera here because we stopped by at the West Hempstead Historical Society meeting this morning, and Leslie, the vice president over there, was kind enough to point out to you that they didn't have a high school here until the early 1950s, and around 1951 or 52, they were voting to have a high school, and guess what? It got shot down until they moved it to the current property. So we've got some precedent here for it.
Yeah, it's nothing changes, and whether it was 70 years ago or yesterday, wow. Again, I'm not really surprised that the budget got shut down. That seemed to be the singular issue on sort of I would call it the other side of the electoral vote, and the vote itself was pretty narrow.
Well, there are only about 3,000 people voting out of 15,000 or so.
There's a rant here for me because we went over this before. We've mentioned this over and over again. People are posting all over social media, go vote. 20% of the electorate came out to vote.
Yeah,
told us 14 to 15,000 eligible voters, and about 3,000 people showed up. Like, come on, folks, you had 15 hours yesterday to go out and do it?
Yeah, I mean, I heard that it was like fairly busy between like 5 and 7 p.m. But when I went, I mean, I was literally the only person in the room. I mean, there was no excuse for it. The actual numbers of the budget, so the school budget was defeated by a vote of 1,370 that voted no, and 1,169 who voted yes. Also, just as we're talking about the budgets, the library budget was passed by a vote of 1,433 to 1,026. So good for the library, no issues there. School budget.
The library had only a 2% increase, and anybody could figure that out. That's certainly warranted given the inflation rate. So there was nothing to argue about there. But the issue with the schools, as always, is declining population of kids and increasing in costs every year.
Well, I mean, at least that's the talking point of some people. But for the next go around, there has to be a significant cut. I mean, is that correct?
I think we're going to be looking at close to 900,000 cut if they can get away with it. But that's what it's going to take, I think. That's their fallback position.
And just to be clear, we don't actually know about a date for that next vote. If I remember last year, it was 3 to 4 weeks after the initial vote. Again, that $900,000 is what we kind of think things are today. That may change, so don't hold us to it.
Yeah, it's we're still waiting for word. I reached out to the head of the school board, to Karen Brom, and asked her to comment about the elections, and I know she's beyond super busy over the last 24 hours, so hopefully we'll hear from her soon. We also hope in the future to be able to carry Karen and Joel to come back and to talk about whatever the proposed cuts are, whether they're 900,000, whether they're more, whether they're less, but we need to get that breakdown, and that would be coming from Karen and Joel. So we do look to bring them into the discussion fairly soon.
So what does it look like in terms of new board members?
Okay, so in one race we had Joe Magaraci, who was the incumbent, going up against Barry Leon. And
that was a close race.
It was really close. It was 1271 for Magaraci and 1263 for Leon.
Eight votes.
8 votes. So wow. There's not a lot to say about it. I mean,
and then Lazar also against Sargent, right?
Yeah, and in the votes of Lazar and Sargent, it was 1289 versus Tom Sargent, 1210. Slightly wider margin.
But not much.
I'm not exactly sure why. It potentially is because Magaraci is an incumbent, and maybe there was a couple of extra votes carried forward. I don't know. Again, I believe that this voting was really done based on the singular issue of, the rent is too high, and just to quote an old tagline, and in this case,
to be very specific, the rent is too damn high. Jimmy McMillan, who was a regular runner for the New York City mayor, for anybody who doesn't know that.
And I actually met him once. Wow, and his entourage.
He had fine facial hair, is all I can tell you.
But we've heard from all of these candidates, and I haven't heard from anybody who can explain to me where the savings are going to be. I mean, I think the board that exists right now tries very hard to spend the money properly, try to keep the quality high, but I don't see any heavy cutting being done anywhere.
Well, we'll find out, because they're going to have to cut now. If this budget doesn't pass, they're going to have to find a way.
They had a 4% increase, so they may not be able to get away with that increase.
We'll see.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. We've all put budgets together, and some of us have worked for, large institutions, whether they're public institutions or private institutions. And typically with large organizations, there are PAD, there are contingencies, there are things that are built in. You don't necessarily want to talk about it. You don't want to deal with it. Sometimes they have ramifications.
No. The responsible thing to do is to pad it a little bit, because you don't want to run out of money in the middle of the year when something happens, something goes wrong, an explosion in a building, a fire, some kind of unforeseen issue. If you don't have the money, you're dead.
Right. No, I understand that.
So there's always some money left over.
And that also goes back to the, again, one of the campaign issues, which was the surplus. And I guess they're going to be forced to potentially take a closer look at the surplus and what its roles were or are. I don't know. I don't work in the budget, on the school budget, thankfully. We're going to be reporting on it. That's our mission. Yep. That's what we do. But, how they're going to solve this, it's going to be, it's going to be a lot of smart people getting together, figuring out the best way to look at the budget, how to incorporate some of the new thoughts by some of the new, by the new school board member who's going to be coming on, and we go forward as a community.
And speaking about our coverage, we've been trying to cover it from every possible angle. We've brought all the parties together. We've had them on. We've questioned them fairly without taking a position ourselves, and yet we still hear from some people that think we could do it better. If you have a suggestion for us to do it better, get in touch with us. We're happy to hear from you.
Yeah, I mean, that's our goal. Our goal is to create a community forum. And it's also to give a voice for all sides of any issue. So we always invite people from all sides. And as we did in this case, if someone felt that we were perhaps leaning too far in one direction or not far enough in another direction, then the other side should say, hey, we want to have equal time. And that's fair.
And we'll make it available.
Yeah, no question. So, this is the story that just keeps giving, and it's not going to go away. I guess that's good for us because our traffic is up and our Facebook and social media presence increases. It's been a little bit bumpy in the community on social media. I've seen what I would call skirmishes, if you will, in various websites, various Facebook sites, and people going after individuals in a fairly aggressive way, people going after just kind of like, thought processes, and it's really hard to see. And
this is a heated time, and it'll calm down, I think, in a few weeks, and things will come back a little bit to the normal.
We'd like to see it calmer. Like, I appreciate the fact that these are significant issues that are being addressed. People are concerned about their taxes. People are concerned about the schools. Look, all we can do is tell you what we've seen and what we know. But look, folks, I know it's social media, but show a little respect. We have to live next to each other. We're trying to all live together and get to the right answers. Let's take a chill pill here.
And I disagree, and I agree with you because it's a great sentiment, but I disagree with Norm in the sense that I don't think this thing's going to calm down anytime soon. This thing is only going to be heating up because the community is kind of getting to this tipping point. I'm not exactly sure how it's going to calm down. Perhaps the clergy needs to step in. I don't really know, which is probably a good future segment for us to do, and we'll talk about that at another time. But this is the world that we live in, and if the cuts are being made, and if those cuts perhaps become draconian, the other side is going to get aggressive, and it's just going to play out. It's played out in other communities in New York State, and it looks like it's playing out here. So again, I hope it gets resolved quickly, but I just don't think so.
I don't think quickly, but I think at some point in time we'll take a final vote. They'll get a final budget. We'll all understand we have to live with it. And until next year, when it hits the
yes. I mean,
that's
again, I think outside of a few people, who are going to be just, really in their bunker, waiting. Yeah, life is going to go on, and
that's how it is.
it is what it is. So
that's right.
There we go. So you got back a FOIL request?
Yeah, so we asked for a copy of the traffic report, the investigative report that they did for Woodfield Road. It came in four different sections that talked about everything from how many turns are made, the average speed that goes on. It just came in today. We'll start to digest it and talk about it a little bit more. We're going to put it up on our website so that everybody can take a look at it. It's a little bit difficult to get. You have to fill out all kinds of forms, but we'll make it available to you. You could read through it. I think we could be using it for the town to get some stop signs put up, in addition to the light that's been generated as a result of this report. And we'd love to hear what you have to think about it.
Norm, did you see anything terribly drastic about it? You said you looked through it a little bit. Anything obvious come out of it?
No, there's nothing obvious. I mean, they counted the number of cars and make right turns and left turns, the average speed at different times. They reported on the deaths that took place, the accidents, the different kinds of accidents. I was surprised at how many accidents there are on Woodfield Road that are not related to individual pedestrians, but property damage, cars bumping into, fender bender kind of stuff. There's a lot of it. Yeah. So it makes a boring reading, but some parts of it are interesting.
But, I think the point that you mentioned before about the stop signs, I'm convinced that until they put four-way stop signs for that real difficult stretch and basically just change the trajectory of Woodfield forever, nothing's going to make a difference. One light ain't going to make it.
Right.
And again, I don't think they're going to take this, big step of all these stop signs, but I don't see any other way out of it. And, also, if you go to westhempsteadecho.com, we have a paving video. So all this week, they've been out at night paving Hempstead Avenue. Got some big trucks that those trucks are basically doing a whole bunch of action where they're scooping up the stuff and they're putting down the asphalt all at the same time. We got the video of it. If you do need to go to sleep at night, this is really, really compelling video. That's all I can tell you.
They are supposed to get that supposedly finished this week. It'll be, if all goes well, a nice quick job between whatever it was, Monday or Tuesday of this week and the end of the week. Perhaps I will believe it when I see it, but the hope is that this will be a quick one for them to do.
Yeah, and the weather's been very cooperative, so hopefully they'll get that all finished up. You can catch it on westhempsteadecho.com. So I want to thank you, Norm. Thank you, Dan, for hanging in there. A lot of stuff to cover on the elections, and we'll bring it for you next week on This Week in West Hempstead.
Thanks for watching, everybody. As always, if you would like to sponsor our program, much like Stern and Spiegel and our friends at Tiffany Dry Cleaners, please let us know at sales@westhempsteadecho.com.